Have y'all watched The Acolyte? Is anyone here actually watching this? It is now to a dismal 14% audience score. They broke new ground. It is now the lowest rated by a good measure to 14% audience score. And originally, the critic score it premiered at like 96% or something, which is crazy. I'm sorry, that is a crazy good audience score, that critic score, I'm sorry, that does definitely not reflect the quality of the show. That is just so suspect right there. And of course, obviously, I don't think the audience score matters to Disney, but I think to normies and general audiences, yes, this score matters. They know something's up. And if they did check it out after seeing the 96% critic score and seeing that, no, that did not warrant 96% at all, they know something's up. Yeah, we're getting wise to the corporate shill media. And just be honest. Just be honest. It's a poorly made show. This has happened for a while too. Also, it's funny. I think House of the Dragon premiered at like 92%, and I tweeted about that. I was like, oh, so it's not as good as The Acolyte. Okay, that makes sense. There's nothing suspicious going on there. I think episode 3 was the one that was the most disappointing when it came to lore and when it came to the story. Just episode 3 was so bad. If you separate out your lore brain, even just from a regular standpoint, it was a very, very poorly written show. The dialogue is so abysmal. It was so boring and nothing makes sense. Nothing anyone did made sense. And they don't explain anything. And again, very, very cringe. I'm sorry. I'm so sensitive to cringy dialogue. And there is so much in the show. It hurts. It literally hurts. Josh McNeil, I still can't get over how bad the costume and makeup is. Yeah, that seems to be a recurring issue in these shows. And I feel like I had the same issue with Willow and Rings of Power even. Also, like they have their costume department. It just doesn't feel, it looks very stage play or cosplay. It looks so clean. It doesn't look lived in. It doesn't look real. I don't know. I've seen some pretty great cosplay. So if you can't even outdo cosplayers who have like a nothing budget, but you have a show that has operating on $180 million, like there's no excuse for just those kinds of details not to be done right or just way better in quality. It is disappointing. I know a lot of people were actually excited for the concept, and I feel like the concept is interesting to examine the side of the Sith, but they just don't know how to do it. And honestly, we've seen it done numerous times in the EU and before in George Lucas Star Wars time too. We've seen so many things that have examined that side and done it with so much more depth and complexity and competence at the end of the day. And I feel like the Acolyte represents the biggest push for them to say that there's no right and wrong. It just depends on what side you're on. It just depends on your point of view. And they always like to say, oh, just from a certain point of view, your actions are good. Yes, moral relativism. And it's not like that stuff hasn't been done before. It has, but I've seen it done with just in a far more compelling way. In a far more compelling and intelligent way. But when it comes to Star Wars, this is Star Wars. This is the battle of good versus evil. I feel like where they're going with the twin girls, is to have one of them represent the dark side and one of them represent the light side. And they're going to come together. Basically, they're going to make their own way, I guess. They both are coming from these institutions, one from the Jedi and one from the cult-like witches. And those are their backgrounds, and they're going to work together to represent balance of the Force, what they think is balance. And balance is not equalness of dark and light. No, balance of the Force is the absence of the dark side. The dark side is a corruption of the Force. It more often than not leads to suffering. But I feel like that's what they're doing. They've had marketing, and even in the title or even in the marketing materials like posters and the name, the Acolyte, like when the show comes up, you have the O, and the Acolyte looks like two O's that are coming together, and one looks red and one looks blue, and they're coming together. And on the planet that they were on in the flashback with the witches, it had a blue moon and a red moon, it looked like. So I don't know what that had to connect with the ceremony that they were performing, but I feel like the imagery was like more symbolism of that.